Hi, I'm Scott Purdue, and today on Flywire, we're going to talk about aeronautical decision making. Well, essentially, what happened was I had engine instrument indications of a catastrophic engine failure that was going to happen real soon, and I had to make a choice. Do I fly 85 miles to my destination, or do I divert 30 miles across more rugged terrain, or just what do I do? So I want you to come along with me and let's figure out. I'll show you just what I did, how I ended up here in the middle of nowhere, and made some aeronautical decision making. Yeah, there is a runway right down this road right here, and believe it or not, this is a taxiway for airplanes. At least that's what they advertise. So come on, let's do this. I was flying um, towards Las Vegas, and I just passed Flagstaff, flew through the smoke plume of a forest fire, and I got a little bit of a vibration, and we started worrying about that. What's that? You always worry about stuff like that. And I was looking around the cockpit, and I saw on my JPI engine monitor that number 3 cylinder was fluctuating up and down, up and down. And that is a classic signal that you have an impending exhaust failure valve. The valve's going to fail. And with that, it's going to chew up things. Who knows what's going to happen? It's all bad. So I started thinking about what are my options. Looking around, it's a pretty good ways back to Flagstaff. I'm approaching Peak Springs VOR Vortac, which is right over there. And I decide that, well, if I go 85 miles, that's how long it's going to take me to get to North Las Vegas. I got to fly over Lake Mead. I got to fly over all of Las Vegas itself, all at low altitude because of the Class B. They force you down pretty bad. And I decided that's not really a good idea. So I decided that I'll divert to Kingman. I got to Peach Springs VOR, and I decided I'm going to divert to Kingman. And I made that turn. Just as I turned and rolled out, headed towards Kingman, I had the vibration got really worse. Instead of a little bit of a buzz, I got a really serious vibration, and I thought, okay, this is bad. I'm not going to even make it to Kingman. I'm at 10,500 feet, and the terrain is, well, right where I'm standing is 5,400 feet, and the ridges around me, they go up to 7, some of them up to 8, and I'm going to have to cross all that. So if I'm at 10.5, I've got 3,000 feet, maybe 3,500 feet. I've got a little bitty amount of time to make a decision. My options are few and far between. So I decided instead of doing that, instead of going to Kingman, which is right over in that direction, then what I would do is there's 2 airports right here, right behind me, less than a couple of miles behind me. One, Hualapai, which is owned by the Indian tribe. It's right over there, and it's about 8 miles from Route 66. And you can't see it, but those telephone poles right there, that's Route 66. And it's quite a ways away. There's nothing there. And the other choice was Lima 37, which is Grand Canyon Caverns. It's a private airstrip owned by an inn, and they have a hotel, and they also have a cave here, a cavern. And I'd read about it in the OPA's travel blog about 2 or 3 months before. So I said, that's where I'm going because there's civilization there. And I land here, it's about 5,000-ish feet. It's all gravel, looks just like this road does right here. And I landed, taxied up, did a big Schwuppenhausen turn, and landed, no worries. Taxied up right up here. I'll show you where I parked, and got out. No phone, no phone at all. So I guess that this section of Route 66 is not too important to put cell phones. So fortunately, the inn, Grand Canyon Cavern Inns, has Wi-Fi, and that's what I was able to use to call home and talk to my wife and figure out what to do next. So that's what I did. All right, so what we're looking at right here is there's the taxiway coming from the runway right down there. And then there we are. There's aircraft parking. Pretty slick, huh? This is the hangar, or what's left of it. And I did end up pushing the airplane in here in case I had to do a cylinder change, I want to have a little bit of protection. So then he stuck the airplane in here, but I parked right up here on that spot right there. So there is another aircraft parking sign. So there's the, don't come this direction, don't come any further. Here's, airplanes are for here, don't go to the road, because that's Route 66 right up there. So when I got here, trying to figure out what am I going to do next, the choice was, and I got to look at that number 3. I got to look at that cylinder. I got to look at that valve and see what's going on with that. So we got a bore scope, and I looked at it. I looked at all the cylinders, but the number 3 was the one I was really interested in. And what I found is there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with number 3 cylinder. I expected to see a burnt valve. I didn't see that. Nothing. So then it was kind of a gut check. I figured that most probably is the situation is I have a problem with the plugs. Either the mag itself or the plugs are bad. One of my indications was besides that fluctuating EGT, the cylinder head temperature had dropped 100 degrees, and from what it had been and what all the others were. And then by the time I turned and made the decision, it was almost 200 degrees when I was doing that Schwuppenhausen turn here. It was almost 200 degrees cooler than all the other cylinders. So I'm thinking in my head, I didn't analyze this in the air. This is on the ground when I was thinking about this. But the problem is there's something wrong with that, either the mag going to that cylinder, which there's 2 mags firing the upper and lower plugs. So how could that be? Or there's something wrong with the plugs. So what I ended up doing is deciding that it was a plug issue, and I replaced all the plugs, and then I flew it out of here. And I did a nice run up, did a check, and I didn't see any issues at all. Every cylinder was hitting. I was very thorough in my pre-flight check on that one, and took off out of here and then flew to Kingman at that point. But the airplane worked flawlessly. Full disclosure, though, the engine was over TBO, and the airplane's in the shop right now getting a new engine, so I'm happy about that. Put yourself in my shoes, or even better yet, imagine yourself in my seat. Flying over the Arizona desert, rocky, yes. Picturesque, yes. A bit intimidating for an airplane in trouble? Heck yes. The rhythmic fluctuation indications I saw from the EGT are classic exhaust valve failure signs, and it usually appears within a few hours of total failure. But just when is hard to predict. That, coupled with the slight vibration I felt, made me suspect that failure was imminent. The truth is that while I did consider going to my destination, I didn't think about it very long. Diverting was clearly the best option on the table, and I had no desire to troubleshoot the problem in the air. My first principle is that when the airplane malfunctioned, its sole job is to get me back on the ground in one piece. If I can do that, then I can think about keeping the airplane in one piece so that I can use it later. My personal inconvenience is very low on the consideration tree. A landing at a bare bones airport or airstrip is much preferable to a forced landing amongst the big rocks. I don't think that would come out very well. But after I'm back on the ground, I can think more thoroughly about what happened and how to fix it. In my opinion, given a short window to make a successful decision, the number one priority is to recover the airplane. For myself, and I think for you as well, we are more likely to have a successful outcome to a perceived or real emergency situation if we execute a plan that we developed on the ground. No one is smart enough to evaluate all the possibilities and to weigh them against the risks in a very short amount of time that you have available. My nickel on the grass is to think various emergency situations through on the ground and decide what your decision points are so that when you need to, you can execute in the air without hesitation. The reality is that each and every one of us as humans are creatures of habit. And in crises, we can successfully execute in complex, high-pressure situations if we already have a plan. Frankly, there's never enough time to make it up as we go along. When the manure hits the fan, we revert to our most basic training. Are you ready for an engine failure indication? The instruments are buying you some time So what do you do with that time? That's the critical important situation. Of course, in my situation today, after investigation, I could have made it to my destination of North Las Vegas. I could have diverted to Kingman, but I didn't know that at the time. When I made the turn for Kingman at Peach Springs VOR and the vibration increased, my decision tree said to put the airplane on the ground as soon as possible. My precautionary landing at L37 screwed up our family plans for the next 10 days. But in the end, we turned the unexpected journey into family time that was almost as much fun and possibly more memorable, and definitely not filled with regret. So think through the emergencies on the ground, talk about them with your hangar buddies. Above all, be prepared. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned from my experience so you'll be ready if it happens to you. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next video, and thanks for watching. See you next time on Flywire.